Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Tip-Off. I'm Doug Williams. Today we're previewing the upcoming season for the Brooklyn Nets. And who better to have on to discuss it than our very own Ian Eagle, who does play-by-play for the Nets on our broadcast. Ian, thanks so much for coming on.
You got it, Doug. Good to talk to you.
You too. Well, obviously the regular season starts Wednesday against the Celtics. But before we get to that, how do you think this team looked overall in the preseason? They finished at 4-2, but obviously records don't really matter. How's the vibe around this team?
The vibe is positive. It's interesting when you have a coaching change because it's not just the head coach, it's the entire staff. So you get a completely different feeling based on the fact that they're trying to implement some philosophies. The players are feeling their way to see exactly what the coaches want out of them. And in this preseason, the long trip to China definitely acted as a bonding experience in many ways. You're together, you're forced to be together, and I think the team came out of it feeling good about the chemistry that's developing and the byplay. Lionel Hollins, demanding guy, no nonsense, old school. These are the terms that we've heard, and I believe them to be true. There's just no beating around the bush with him. He's very direct in what he wants. He will say it to the players' faces. He's not going to try to create some kind of question through the media and hope it gets back to the player. So to me, it's been very positive signs early. How it translates to the regular season, that's the next step.
You could make a case for about 8 different players being the key to their season for the Nets. But to me, it's a role shared by 2 players, in Deron Williams and Brook Lopez. Deron obviously coming off ankle surgery this summer, but played this preseason. And Brook Lopez injured his ankle and missed most of the preseason. What are you expecting out of these 2 this season?
Brook Lopez, Deron Williams. 2 years ago, when those guys were developing a little bit of a connection, the team won nearly 50 games. It was not a star-studded group. It was not a team that was getting a whole lot of attention around the NBA. They just went about their business. What did they do? They beat the teams they were supposed to beat. Every now and again, they would beat somebody that might have been considered a step up in weight class. But for the most part, they did the things they were supposed to do. Last year's group didn't early on. Williams banged up. Lopez lost for the season early because of foot problems. And the team took on a different identity. In many ways, I think this team is going to need to get back to what they did 2 years ago, where Lopez was a focal point and Deron Williams' confidence was higher. His confidence took a hit last year. And I think Lionel Hollins recognizes that in order to have the kind of season that this team is looking to have, Williams and Lopez are going to have to be a big part of it. But health is always a concern. It has to be when 2 guys that have dealt with the injuries that they've dealt with over the last couple of years are such a big part of your core group.
Yeah, you mentioned health, and a guy that's going to take a little pressure off of Lopez is rising star Mason Plumlee. He was part of the Team USA's FIBA World Cup team this summer and looked so promising this preseason offensively, finishing around the rim. Ian, do you have a feeling that you're going to be calling some dunks from him this season?
I think I'm going to have to start rehearsing some of those in the mirror because that could be a very common happening and occurrence in Brooklyn this year. You know, it's funny, and this is what makes sports so great, the unpredictable nature of it. Again, before his rookie year, a year ago, everybody was talking about Mason Plumlee being a staple in the D-League, someone that needed a lot of seasoning, that just wasn't ready for the wear and tear and the rigors of the NBA. And now here we are a year later. He was part of the U.S. national team, won the FIBA World Cup, and his presence, his persona, is completely different. He's still a humble guy. He's still very affable, likable. But you can tell in just the way he carries himself, he's now accomplished something. He has experience that he just didn't have prior. Being around great players really helps you in your own development, seeing how guys prepare, being in that locker room, being in those huddles. I think it's going to really provide him with an important lift in year 2, and the team is asking for more out of him. This is no longer a surprise. He's no longer a secret weapon.
How about the new faces on this Brooklyn Nets team? They brought in a few guys, including Jarrett Jack and Bojan Bogdanovic. They also have a new head coach in Lionel Hollins. Which newcomer will have the biggest effect on this team, Ian?
Well, first of all, from a pronunciation standpoint, the biggest adjustment will be for me on Bogdanovich. The first name, and I'm going to give this to you because of our relationship, Doug, the first name is Boyan. And it was like an episode of Law and Order. I mean, I had to dig for this information. So it's Boyan Bogdanovich, young guy, 25 years old. He has not shot it well in the preseason. Anyone coming over from Europe and playing in the NBA, there is an adjustment period. And I'm sure Bogdanovich is going to go through the same issues that other guys have gone through. The difference here is that I don't think they're asking him to step forward and be a key component scoring the ball early. Jarrett Jack's a different story. Jack, you're going to see him backing up Deron Williams. You're going to see him playing with Deron Williams alongside. Deron Williams has become more of a jump shooter, less of a playmaker, more of a jump shooter. So there'll be times where Jack is handling the ball, Williams is playing the two. I think this will be a good fit for him.
Yeah, Jarrett Jack has definitely some potential in this lineup. Before we let you go, we got to get a prediction out of you. Are the Nets a playoff team in the newly shaken up Eastern Conference, Ian?
I believe they're a playoff team. Now, there's a big if in there, and that has to do with one of your early questions. That's Brook Lopez and Deron Williams. If you lose either one of those guys for an extended period of time, will the Nets have enough depth-wise to be able to compete and maintain? That's really the issue to me. I think they're in that 44, 45 win range, looking at the landscape around the league. Western Conference, we know there are a lot of tough teams, but there are winnable games out there. And Lionel Hollins came from the West, where he was winning 50 games with a Memphis Grizzlies team that was not necessarily a murderer's row. He was able to squeeze the most that he could out of that lineup. I expect more of the same with the Nets. And my anticipation for this season is somewhere in that 43 to 45 win area.
All right, Ian, that's going to do it for the tip-off. Good stuff. As always, we appreciate you coming on with us, and have a great season.
All right, Doug, great to talk to you. We'll talk soon.
All right, well, you can catch all of the coverage of the Nets season opener against the Celtics on Yes. Coverage starts at 7 p.m. with the pregame show, followed by tip-off shortly after 7:30. I'm Doug Williams. See you next time, everybody.